There have been riots and mass breakouts at the Christmas Island Detention Centre as desperation turns to destruction. Hundreds of detainees were involved, but the government says the situation is under control after scores of extra police were flown in to quell the tension. The government's called an inquiry into the riots, but the opposition says that will accomplish nothing and has called for a return to John Howard's Pacific solution. Political correspondent Tom Eagleton reports.
New pictures from Saturday show detainees outside the perimeter fence near the Christmas Island airport. 100 are thought to have poured through a hole in the fence to stage a peaceful protest.
The people stay here for a long time. Some people here 20 months in the detention centre.
Just over 24 hours later, back inside the wire, the number of demonstrators swelled and the calm protests boiled over.
Last night, about 300 detainees inside the centre engaged in protests. Damage was done to facilities including fencing, some accommodation and door locks. At 3:37 a.m. this morning, the Australian Federal Police determined that it was necessary to use tear gas to quell this protest.
And that is a very concerning development, that it had got itself to that stage when the Prime Minister had only said, not 12 hours before, that the situation was under control.
Just what set off the riots is murky. The government says it's been refusing more asylum requests of late and is talking tough to try and put a stop to the protests.
The only thing that it will achieve is a delay to their process and potentially being moved to more secure premises.
New detention facilities on the mainland have seen Christmas Island's population reduced by about 500 down to just over 2,500. The government's urging patience.
So we've been bringing those numbers down. And that's very important, and they'll continue. We'll continue to open those other facilities, and they will take pressure off Christmas Island as they open, and that does improve security at the detention facility.
But the opposition says it's not where the detainees are being held that's the problem.
Now, the only way to avoid the kinds of problems that we're seeing in our detention centres is for the government to change policies, to put in place the kinds of policies that have worked before, policies that weren't always popular, but they did stop the boats, they did prevent the deaths, they did prevent the riots.
The protesters haven't identified overcrowding or visa refusals as the reason for their desperation.
There is no fair treatment in the detention centre for everything, for medical centre, for food, for everything.
Rioting and tear gas on Christmas Island are the last thing the government needs right now. It's been burnt on the asylum issue before, and new polls out today in the Fairfax Press show voters are deserting the government. And there was another curious aspect to those polls. Voters want to go back to the future, with both Kevin Rudd and Malcolm Turnbull outpolling their respective leaders.
Well, I don't put any weight behind opinion polls, and I don't think leadership is about opinion polls, so that doesn't really, cause me to consider it any way. I just don't worry about those kind of things.
My job every day between now and the next election is to be an effective critic of bad policies and to be a credible alternative. Now, I'm happy with the way things are going, and I'll keep doing that job.
A job made that much easier by events on Christmas Island. Tom Eagleton, Lateline.